Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
Good morning, Branch 32, and good morning, Naps family. It's great to have you here on the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. It's great to have listeners in New Jersey, Tennessee, Illinois, Washington, New York, Ohio. The list goes on and on. Those are some of the folks that listened to last week's Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Really do appreciate that. I'm Robert Wakefield. I'm your host and president of Branch 32. Thank you so much. All right. Got a great show lined up for you. Let's go ahead and let's pour that first cup. This Christmas, give your budget a break with a little help from the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. We're offering Christmas loans at just 12% APR. You can borrow up to $1,200 for 12 months. And here's the best part. No payments for 60 days. That's right. Shop now, pay later, and enjoy the season without the stress. Whether it's gifts, travel, or holiday cheer, we've got you covered. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our first cup this morning, I wanted to continue the Don't Quit series. I hope you've got your cup of Joe ready, and I hope that you are sitting back and relaxing on this Saturday morning, and I hope that you enjoy today's podcast. Last week we talked about don't quit on yourself and how important that was, that you take care of yourself. And we even mentioned episode 7, which is one of the most popular episodes on the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. I encourage you to go back and listen to that series as well. But today I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to talk about something that's just as important, and that is don't quit on your team. I'm going to refer to our team as fellow EAS and craft employees and the like. That's what I'm going to refer to as team today. Because if you don't work as a team anyway, this is not going to be a happy time of year for you. And sometimes that team doesn't seem to reciprocate what you're trying to do. And I get that. I've been in those shoes too. And that's not always fun. But I just want to talk about today, don't quit on your team. Now, we all know the Christmas rush isn't just about packages and deadlines. It's about people. And your team, hopefully, is right there in the trenches with you. They're tired. They're stressed. But they're also showing up every day to make sure that the mission of delivering to the American public gets done. And here's the truth of the whole thing. When the pressure's on, your team needs you more than ever. And not just as a supervisor or a postmaster, but they need you as a leader, as a motivator, and sometimes even as a cheerleader. Now, I am not suggesting that you come to work with pom-poms. Ready? Okay. Not saying that at all. But sometimes a motivator has to be a cheerleader. And we're going to get these packages out. We're going to get this done. We're going to be sure that everyone's taken care of. Let's go ahead and get this work done. You know, there was a holiday season not too long ago that I read about when a supervisor, well, no, it's a supervisor I actually knew, he made it a point to walk the floor every single day. I've talked about this person in a previous podcast. And he wasn't just checking on operations, he was checking on the people. And he'd stop and he'd ask how they were doing. He would share a quick laugh with them. And this time of year, he would even hand out candy canes. Now, I know that sounds small, but you know, in that office, it made a really big difference. Folks felt like they were being seen. They felt valued. And guess what? Productivity was great. Morale stayed steady. And this team pulled together stronger than ever. And that's what it means not to quit on your team. It's about being present. It's about being human. And it's reminding them that they matter. I think of the time when I was a postmaster and one of my rural carriers' husband got the flu and passed away. And my team came together and made sure that that mail got delivered and would carry on the extra burden. It was for a week during Christmas. It was during this time of year that they would all team up and take parts of the route. And I would go out there and help them with the packages. It's just important not to quit on your team. So how do we keep from quitting on our team, even when you're exhausted? Well, here's some things that I read that might help make this a little bit easier. And the first thing that this paper said was recognize effort. You know, a quick thank you, or I see the hard work you're doing, seems to go a long way. I remember when I was a craft employee and my boss said, hey, thank you so much for doing that. That really meant a lot because I was just doing my job, but yet it was appreciated. So recognize effort. That's one way that you can show that you're not quitting on your team, and share the load. Don't just delegate, jump in when you can. Now, here we go. I'll be hearing from some folks saying, well, you're breaking the contracts. Yes, I know. Yeah, but help when you can. Show them that you're willing to sweat alongside them. That's a way that you can show that you're not quitting on your team. And I think one of the most important things is you keep communication open. You let them know what's coming. You let your employees know what's expected. And then you listen when they have concerns. Because listen, they're going to have concerns. I ended every stand-up talk with this. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? And one employee said, well, I'm pretty concerned. And I would say, thank you for sharing. I appreciate your concern on that. But always ask questions. Keep the communication lines open and celebrate the small wins. And the small wins are as big as the big wins. You know, it was always great to see these carriers get back before 5 this time of year. Celebrate that. Call it out. Call out someone who went the extra mile. These actions, all of them, help build trust. And let me just tell you, trust is the glue that holds our teams together when the pressure's on. So here is the bigger picture. Your employees aren't just a group of employees. They're people with families, with holiday plans, with lives outside of the post office. And then when you invest in them, you're investing in the mission of serving the American public each and every day. And because at the end of each day, the packages don't move themselves. It's the people that you have working for you that make it happen. And when they feel supported, they'll give their best every single time. Now, these are practical tips. I know there's individual situations that, well, my employees don't feel like a team and I can't get anything. Okay. There's no perfect scenario. But this is just kind of an encouragement to don't quit on your team. You're heading into another busy week. This is Saturday, December the 13th, and you're going to head into the final few weeks of this major push. So be encouraging. Be the kind of leader that lifts others up, even when the load feels just heavy. Because when you don't quit on your team, they won't quit on you. And I think that's pretty much how that works. And together, you'll get through this rush stronger than ever. So remember, don't quit, not on yourself and not on your team and not on the mission. And next week, we're going to talk about don't quit on the standards. So let's go ahead and let's pour that's what cup am I on? Let's pour the second cup. Here we go. This holiday season, the Nashville Post Office Credit Union wishes you joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate this special time of year, we're grateful for your trust and your membership. May your days be merry and bright, and your new year filled with success and happiness. From all of us at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And for our second cup today, I want to share a story that I think I may have shared this before, but I'm not real sure. 60-some episodes in, I'm not sure what I've talked about and what I haven't. But I wanted to share the story of when I was the postmaster at Burns, Tennessee. And it was Christmas Eve, and this dad comes in with his son, who was about 5 or 6. And he walked up to the window and he said to me with his son right there, he says, "How quick can you get a letter to Santa Claus?" I said, "Well, fortunately we have a really good network with Santa, so we can get it to him, overnight." He said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, absolutely." And he said, "Okay, how do you do that?" So I gave him an express mail form. And I said, "You fill out Santa Claus, North Pole, and I'll look up the zip code for that. And you put that your return address on there." And so they went over there, and the dad was writing Santa Claus, North Pole on the form. The little boy's eyes just lit up as he was putting in his Christmas list inside the envelope. He brought it back up to the window, and he said, "Well, how much does it cost?" I said, "Well, normally on Christmas Eve, it's quite expensive, but today we will waive that cost so that we can get this to Santa right away." And the dad said, "Really?" And I said, "Oh yeah, we'll do that. We will absolutely do that." So we sealed up the express mail envelope. Little boy was standing right there. I grabbed an express mail bag, put it in there, and out the door they went. So when the dad came back after Christmas, and he said, "I really appreciate you doing that. Do you still happen to have that letter?" I said, "Yeah, I've got it right here." And I gave it to him. We opened it up, and the things he asked for, I think it was, I want to say it was one of those remote control cars that he could drive around. And then he also put this on there, $8 billion. He wrote $8 billion, and me and that dad busted out laughing, and I told him, I said, if he's got $8 billion, he's not going to have any problems getting that remote control car, is he? He says, no, he's not. So that's just a neat Christmas story. I know you have Christmas stories as well, and I want to hear them, but you got to share them with me in order for me to share them on the podcast. So how do you do that? Well, there's several ways you can do that. You can send it by email, SaturdayCupOfJoe@gmail.com. You can go to podbean.SaturdayCupOfJoe.com and leave a comment there. Or the easiest way is to go to napsbranch32.org. And at the bottom, you'll see a chat page. You can chat and send me the message right there at napsbranch32.org, and I'll get that message that way too. So there's 3 ways you can let me know what your favorite Christmas story is. I'd love to hear from you, and we will broadcast that here on the Saturday Cup of Joe. Thank you so much for listening to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. Share, like, subscribe. Get the message out about this podcast. We have a good time doing it, and we appreciate so much you listening. So thanks again, and remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupOfJoe@gmail.com.